of Marathon. Boys, let's talk about it, man. We got to talk about Marathon. Because, well, the truth has been coming out about Marathon, and it ain't looking good, right? So as we know, the numbers have pretty much stagnated for the most part, right? The numbers have pretty much stagnated as expected, and they stagnated exactly where I thought they were going to be, which is right around 50,000 concurrent players. That's more than enough for them to monetize if they can convince enough whales to spend money on $20 color skins, but, you know, it all depends. The game is slowly losing its player base. I think Cryo Archive, I think was the name of the map. Cryo Archive is not as successful as they were hoping. And I honestly kind of feel like that's because they decided to make it a weekend only thing, which is kind of crazy, right? So you're basically saying to your players, we demand that you spend time with us on the weekend and nobody else in order to experience content that is brand new that we just added. I think that's crazy, you know? So making it weekend only, whatever. I understand they're trying to go with the concept of how they did it with Destiny, where you had Xur, who was only available on the weekend or something like that. But again, you have an NPC that you could just visit and buy stuff from versus an entire content loop that you can't access without it being on the weekend. I think that's a really stupid move. But anyway, whatever. So now apparently it's come out. And again, I want you guys to take this information with a grain of salt because, again, this is Alinea Analytics. And it's no different than your other like analytic firms that basically pull information supposedly and try to either sell it to you or whatever. It's one of those things where it's like I forgot the name of the other one that a lot of the what's the name of the other company that they would utilize to push analytics with Ghost Yote and shit? What's the name of that? It's so funny how they're not even anywhere to be seen anymore. Nobody ever talks about them. They barely say anything. What's the name of the other company? You have Alinea Analytics, and then you have, what's the other one? I'm sure one of you guys will say it. Circana. Yeah, there you go. So Circana. When's the last time you heard anything from Circana? I just realized that. They went completely radio silent. Where the fuck they've been? Anyway, so the gold standard, exactly. So Marathon, according to Alinea Analytics, has sold 1.2 million copies total. Now, I want you guys to understand something. The conversation around this game and the cope was that it was rumored, and they were running with this, by the way. All the Marathon fanboys were running with this like crazy. And I just knew it was bullshit because the numbers weren't adding up. Especially over on Steam, the numbers were not adding up. There was no way. And then when Jason Schreier or whoever said that the majority of the player base was on Steam, and I'm looking at the numbers, and Steam is at like 600,000 copies sold, estimated. How the fuck are you at 2 million? That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, Marathon has supposedly now sold 1.2 million copies. When it was first initially rumored, they sold 2 million copies. So now we are 800,000 copies less from the last rumor. That's almost 1 million copies less. That's almost half. Oh, Paul Tassi said it. Sorry, not Jason Schreier. Regardless, they're both the same. Paul Tassi said that. It didn't make sense. Like, none of this made sense once I heard what Paul Tassi said. So now it says that it hasn't exactly made the splash Sony and Bungie wanted, which I'm not surprised. Even if the game underneath the surface is a masterwork of design. This person, I swear. You know, it's so amazing to see these people use certain words with Marathon. It's like, bro, you really think Marathon's anything different from what we've seen throughout how many years now of extraction shooters? The only things that are different with Marathon is its visuals and maybe a little bit of its gun gameplay because it's very Bungie, right? Like Bungie has a certain style when it comes to their gun gameplay that you can argue almost nobody else has. But that's not necessarily a positive or a negative. It just depends on who you are as a player and whether you prefer Bungie style FPS games versus others, you know? So it says, looking at the split between Steam, PS5, and Xbox, Steam is clearly the main platform for Marathon, which we already knew that. We already knew that to be the case. And it's not even because Paul Tassi, Jason Schreier, none of that. Extraction shooters are inherently more popular on PC than they are on consoles by a long shot. All right. Most of the extraction shooters are mainly popular on PC, right? Looking at Arc Raiders, looking at Escape from Tarkov, all these games, like this is the home of extraction shooters, right? So if you're going to try to find a customer base for your extraction shooter, you're more likely to find it on PC than you are to find it on a console, especially since it's just more easier to utilize the game on a PC, because normally these extraction shooters, their UIs, their inventory systems are extremely fucking clunky and they're just messy, right? So it's easier to utilize it with a keyboard and mouse than it is with a controller. But in any case, so it's the main platform for Marathon, accounting for a little under 70% of the total audience sold, which is 800,000 copies. Meanwhile, PS5 takes about 19%, which is 217,000 copies, and Xbox, including console, PC, and cloud, accounts for a bit over 11%, or of about 133,000 copies. So right off the bat, this is pretty wild, right? Because I want you guys to understand, Marathon was pitched as like the Bungie return to form. Bungie's going to bring PlayStation back. You know what I mean? And PlayStation only showed up for 19% of the total number. That's really bad. That's really bad. It destroys a couple of narratives, right? So the first narrative that it destroys is the fact that for some reason, console fanboys really do believe that they're the number one fucking platform, okay? And when I say console fanboys, I'm talking about the hardcore ones. I'm not talking about people who just like playing on console. I don't apply you to these people, okay? I'm talking about the ones that go out of their way to be on Twitter all day, attacking people who play on anything else other than their particular console, and then spew absolute bullshit cope. It really is just cope, where they think that they're the biggest platform. They think they're the ones who are like, oh man, you know, you guys using the Steam numbers, but Steam numbers is only like 5% of the total numbers. Everybody knows that everybody's playing on PlayStation. It's like millions upon millions of copies sold on PlayStation. And then you ask them, where'd you get that information? They're like, well, it's just the truth. Console gaming, bro. It's like, all right, sure. Anyway, so they only showed up for about 19% of the total. Marathon's technically a first-party Sony title, which makes it worse, by the way. It makes it worse, by the way. Marathon being a first-party Sony title, that ain't good. You know what this proves, too? It destroys yet another narrative, right? It destroys the day and date narrative, meaning that if Sony were to actually release their games on PC day one, they would see more sales on PC than the actual native PlayStation. We've been talking about this for the longest time, and I know they don't want to admit that. They definitely don't want to admit that. That's one thing they will never admit to. But Marathon proves it, bro. Marathon was being pushed out there to be the return to form for Bungie on PlayStation, and only 19% decided to show up, and the other 70% went to PC. That's crazy, right? So that kind of destroys their narrative too. But anyway, seeing the home console struggle to break 20% of the volume is a notable data point for the ongoing platform agnostic debate. PlayStation Studios' online games will almost certainly continue being multi-platform, despite Sony reportedly pulling back on PC releases. And this is honestly why I never believed that they were going to pull back on PC releases, because I really just don't think they can. I think at this point, PC has taken over so much that if they do pull away from PC, they're going to be the only ones doing that. Aside from Nintendo, but Nintendo's in its own little fucking bubble. It always has been. So for you to pull out a PC while everybody else is investing and going into PC and hoping to strike gold on the PC platform, I think you're crazy, right? Is PlayStation going to survive if they pull out from PC? Yeah, sure, of course. But you're going to be giving up billions of dollars. Even that small percentage, what was it, like 5 to 10%? Even that small percentage is still billions of dollars for you. And those billions of dollars could go a long way for you, right? So one topic that came up a lot in conversation at the GDC this year was why Marathon hasn't hit the same stratosphere as Arc Raiders. On paper, they're both extraction shooters, and Marathon has the Bungie pedigree. Yeah, but what does the Bungie pedigree even mean, though? What does the Bungie pedigree even mean? Bungie is not even the same Bungie anymore. So you guys are literally just riding the clout of the former developers that made your entire studio's name. What the fuck does Bungie pedigree mean? It doesn't mean anything anymore. It says the house that built the gold standard for gunplay in Halo and Destiny. Since when has Halo ever been fucking relevant in years? What does it mean? Bungie pedigree. What the fuck does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. It used to. Not anymore. This shit doesn't. I hate when they do this. When they're like, "Oh man, this is the house that built fucking Halo." Yeah, that house was emptied and evicted years ago. And then they'll be like, "Well, there's still developers that worked on Halo." Yeah, which one? Which Halo? And what did they really do? Because you have a lot of people that are like, "Oh yeah, we worked on Halo," and come to find out, they were like, what, community managers? Or they fucking what, delivered coffee for the developers who actually worked on Halo that left? Like, what does that even mean? So his answer is that players understand that Arc Raiders loop within 30 minutes, while Marathon's UI acts as a massive filter, chewing up newcomers and spitting them out before they can experience the depth of Bungie's signature gunplay and Marathon's awesome gameplay loop. Bro, Marathon's awesome gameplay loop. What the fuck are we talking about, bro? It's no different. The extraction shooter concept remains the same at the end of the day. Arc Raiders just does it better. That's just what it is, man. Arc Raiders does it better. It looks better. It plays better, right? And it gives you a third-person perspective versus a first-person perspective. Not everybody likes to play a first-person shooter. I would argue more people are more likely to play a third-person shooter. At least if we're talking at a grand scale, like more people than not, I think they would choose third-person over first-person. And I like first-person. I love first-person shooters because I just like that gameplay. But that's just what it is. I acknowledge that I think more people would choose third-person. The Steam copies sold during each game's respective server slam paint a picture. Arc Raiders saw a massive 80% jump in copies sold during its 3-day server slam. Marathon, meanwhile, saw a 49% increase in the 4 days following its server slam. Despite the friction-heavy start, the data suggests that those who survived Marathon's onboarding are loving life. Are you sure about that? Because they're really angry on Twitter. I don't know if they're loving life. I think loving life is a really strong sentiment to say. But anyway, we've been tracking cross-platform DAUs, and while there's the expected post-launch leakage, many players are sticking with it. After peaking at 478,000 total DAUs on the first Saturday, Marathon has settled in on a respectable rhythm, holding 345,000 daily active users as of yesterday and averaging 380,000 daily active users across the weekend. So they lost about 100,000 daily active users from when they first launched to where they're at now. So 100,000 out of 400,000 daily active users, or almost 500,000 daily active users. So, and keep in mind, DAUs, that's across the board, right? So that's like every single platform, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, all that stuff. It's all over the place. On Steam, Marathon's average playtime has climbed to 27.8 hours, significantly outpacing the console averages on PS5, which is 16.5 hours, and Xbox, which is 17.3. So, bro, not only is PlayStation nowhere near the amount of copies sold as Steam, but then your most dedicated fan base is not even on PlayStation. Like, you guys are not even playing the most hours. You guys are playing way less hours than PC by almost half. That's fucking sad, bro. How is this a return to form for PlayStation? That's fucking sad, bro. Even more telling that the average's 22% of Steam audience has surged past the 50-hour mark, and nearly 7% have already logged over 100 hours. Bro, Godspeed to whoever has over 100 hours in Marathon. Godspeed to you, man. I hope, man, I hope it was worth it, bro. I hope it was worth it, because holy shit, the mental degradation from looking at those colors is going to be rough. PlayStation, Bungie are at a crossroads here. They can double down on Marathon with a long-term Rainbow Six Siege, No Man's Sky style recovery plan, which is something I heard Chris Gunn smartly mention last week on Sacred Symbols. While this could be a sunk cost fallacy in action, it could eventually yield the audience the game's mechanical depth deserves. Shift focus towards the inevitable Destiny 3 or another project, mitigating the escalating opportunity costs and cutting their losses, so to speak. I think, if I got to be honest with you, I think that considering so many of their players that are playing Marathon right now are angry, and they've been saying that they wish that this was Destiny 3 instead, I think that they are going to double down on Destiny 3, and I think that they're going to ride out Marathon for as long as they can until the release of Destiny 3. Like, they'll put out content, they'll have a small team work on the game and update the game and do little things here and there, because extraction shooters kind of make their own content, really. Like, it's all about the player interaction, so it can last longer. I think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to turn or try to do like this crazy grand plan with Marathon. I think Destiny 3 has a much bigger player base opportunity, and a much bigger overall just profit opportunity. I really do. I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going to double down on Marathon. Not that they're going to kill Marathon. I just think that they're going to ride out Marathon at the bare minimum, just to keep people playing, and then just focus on Destiny 3. I really do. Doing both is an expensive proposition given the high overhead. Yeah, I don't think Bungie has the money to do it, to be honest with you. The burn rate of operating out of Bellevue, Washington, with Sony recently demonstrating a lower threshold for underperforming studios and projects, the margin for error has vanished. Whatever happens the next 6 months will determine whether Marathon becomes a cornerstone of Sony's live service portfolio or a cautionary tale of vision exceeding accessibility. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I think this is gonna be the slow death of Marathon. I mean, look at this bar graph, bro. Look at this. Like, how are you on Twitter as a PlayStation super fanboy attacking PC and Xbox users, right? How is that you? And then you're praising Marathon, right? Because you thought you had the numbers. These people were praising Marathon, and they're like, yeah, everybody's playing Marathon on PlayStation. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. What are you looking at? Steam numbers? You fucking loser. Steam numbers don't matter. You fucking chud. Right? Like, how are you out here on Twitter doing that? And now you have a bar graph that is as small as an Asian man's penis. Like, what the fuck is this, bro? How are you looking like this? How are you a PlayStation fanboy and you're looking like this, bro? You're barely ahead of Xbox. That's like insanity to me. I can't believe you're even like, bro. At that point, I would just stop console warring on Twitter. I would run away and pretend like I never said anything about Marathon and just go quiet. Because that's crazy, bro. How are you looking like this, all shriveled up in the corner? That's sad. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? But in any case, so anyway, listen, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say, man. Take these numbers with a grain of salt, because again, this is a linear analytics. And you know, I don't take any of these like analytic firms to be 100% accurate. You know, yes, obviously we could use the numbers and kind of think about things and talk about them and kind of extrapolate that. But like, I don't fully believe any of these analytics. But what I will say is that at least these analytics do make sense based off what I've been seeing as a trend overall. Because again, like, I'm pretty fucking good at looking at the numbers when it comes to Steam and kind of guessing the overall performance. And you also have to understand the genre of the video game that we're dealing with. And when it comes to an extraction shooter, it is going to be PC heavy. Anybody who's played extraction shooters knows that. And so when I saw these people out here console warring with Marathon, I'm like, you really want to do that though? Do you really want to do that? You know, it's probably not a good idea, right? Look at the gross revenue. The estimated gross revenue is $55 million from copies sold on Steam, PS5, and Xbox. This game costs easily over $100 million. You know, think about that. This game easily costs over $100 million to make, if not $200 million, because they had to go back to beta. They had to go back to the books and they had to revamp some things. And they needed to, you know, after the whole art stealing theft thing, they spent almost a year having to go back to the basics to try to revamp things. So that's more development time that was spent on this game, guaranteed, bro. They are nowhere near making their money back for this game. And they need everything that they could possibly get. Now, obviously, this doesn't include microtransactions, right? This doesn't include microtransactions whatsoever. But still, like, it's not looking good, right? This is a live service game. My bet is 350 million. I don't know if they did 350 million because the game is really easy to develop, right? So, like, keep in mind, Marathon, it is a simple gameplay loop, right? You got a few maps, extraction shooter. It really doesn't take much to make a game like Marathon. I don't think it's 300 to 400 million. I just don't. I think it's probably 1 to 200 million if I had to guess. Now, that doesn't include marketing, which, by the way, they spent so much money on marketing this game. It is disgusting. The amount of influencers that they paid to play this game. Oh my God. I have not seen this many influencers paid to play a game since Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows was paying people an insane amount of money to play their game. They paid Hassan fucking Piker, who doesn't even play games, and they paid him $75,000 to $100,000 estimated to play the game for like a couple of hours. You know, so we are seeing crazy money being burned right now, and they don't want to admit it, man. They don't want to admit it. All the microtransactions in the world is not going to make up this difference. You guys have to sell the game, and right now the sales for this game have completely halted. Well, you guys didn't know about the Hassan thing? Yes, yes, they did. They paid Hassan to fucking play Assassin's Creed Shadows. You know, for however long he played it. So it's sad, bro. It is sad. Very sad. Anyway, gross revenue, not profit. Yeah, I know. I know that. I know that. I wonder if this is not even including Steam's cut. If this is not including Steam taking its cut, oh my god. That means you got to take away 30% from Steam's cut, which makes it even worse. And 30% from Xbox. Oh man, this is so bad. It's so bad. Anyway, that's basically it, boys. Marathon ain't looking too good. And listen, man, I said it before, I'll say it again, because I know there's a lot of haters listening. Guys, I want you to enjoy the game. I really do. I want you to enjoy Marathon. If Marathon's the game for you, then that's great. But just because the game's for you doesn't mean that we ignore the reality of the situation of what's happening, right? And the reality of the situation is your game is dying. Your game is right now, like Marathon is on such an uphill battle. It's going to be so difficult for it to get anywhere close to being able to make its money back. It's, and listen, Bungie, hey, Sony might think to themselves that Bungie is the studio that they want to subsidize, right? Bungie might be Bungie might be for Sony what BioWare is for EA. But eventually, just like with BioWare, it's only a matter of time, brother. Like, subsidization ain't going to keep continuing over and over and over again. If they got to keep subsidizing you for years and years and years and years and years and years, eventually, it ain't going to be good, bro. They're going to come for you at some point. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But hey, enjoy the game in the meantime. And hopefully the game is able to stick around as long as possible so that you guys get your money worth. Because it ain't looking good, man. Eventually, I think Bungie is going to be on Sony's chopping block. It's only a matter of time. Because they've been a major letdown. They were already letting people down with Destiny 2 as it was. A lot of people were complaining about Destiny 2. How is Destiny doing, by the way? Destiny was getting felted because of Marathon. Let's see how the numbers are doing. Oh, look, the numbers actually went back up. Look at this. So when Marathon first released, Destiny was actually dropping to about, I think it was like 6,000 to 8,000 concurrent players in a 24-hour period, and it was there for a while. As you could see, the numbers kept going down and down and down. But now they're back up again. 14,263 in a 24-hour period. Still pretty terrible, considering where they were. But the numbers are back up. So people are like, hey, we tried out Marathon. We thought it was Destiny 3. It's not Destiny 3. We're leaving. You know how many people who are Bungie fans bought Marathon because they thought it was going to be like Destiny or similar to Destiny? Most of these people didn't even know what the fucking extraction shooter was. You know how many comments I saw from people that were claiming that they had no idea what an extraction shooter was, but they bought it because it was Bungie? It's crazy, man. So yeah, naturally this game is going to see a little bit of an uptick. And I think, what do they have? Sales going on right now too? So that's probably has to do with it as well. So, but anyway, that's the Marathon story, boys. That is the Marathon story, ladies and gentlemen.